a monster.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix Live. I guess hour 3 rolling on here. Hey, extended edition. I told you guys we had a loaded slate today, and the final segment, nonetheless, I'll tell you what, my man Doug Plagens, voice of the Monsters. It was funny. I told you guys we were going to get Doug on here at some point this week, and today is the day. Been a tough last couple ones here for the Monsters. We'll catch you up on all the Monsters action and look ahead to the games upcoming here, the next slate of games for the Monsters, as they've got some work to do this weekend. We're going to talk about it as we do every week, usually Tuesdays, for those of you that may be listening for the first time today. And today we're doing it on Thursday, by the way. Welcome back, Sports Fix. I'm J-Rock. As I said, about to be joined by Doug Plagens. You guys, if you have any questions for Doug here about the Monsters season thus far, you can always tweet him at Doug Plagens. You can tweet with us at the Sports Fix CLE. Hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/the Sports Fix, and of course, jump in the Mixler chat room over there and drop your comments in there, and we'll ask my next guest. As I said, voice of the Lake Erie Monsters on radio and TV, Doug Plagens. Doug, my man, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm all right. Thanks for being here with us. I know a busy last couple of days for you, traveling up for the game, and then, of course, last night didn't go the way the Monsters hoped. You fell in a hole early, and then a furious comeback attempt there in the third period, too little, too late, and you know, a stumble last weekend at home, too. A tough last couple of games for the Monsters, but now they get ready for some of that home cooking coming up this weekend, tomorrow and Saturday. But talk to me a bit, I guess since it's probably fresh on your mind, last night, the loss to Grand Rapids.
Well, last night's loss stretches the winless streak to 3 games for the Monsters, who've had a pretty light last week and a half from a number of games perspective. They played last Tuesday in Rockford, and then Friday night against Utica, and then last night against Grand Rapids. Light in the sense that only 3 games in about a week and a half, but a tough schedule in that they saw Rockford and Utica, who are currently the teams with the first and second best records in the AHL, followed by Grand Rapids, who's they're that team going into last night's game, and you just kind of had you had a little bit of a bad feeling, and you'll understand what I mean. But the Grand Rapids Griffins have underachieved a little bit to start the season. Their problem has been scoring goals. Their power play has been fine. Their penalty kill has been fine, but they haven't been scoring goals. They had scored just 21 goals heading in 10 games heading into last night's game, which is very strange for a team with that kind of offensive talent. So they're kind of snake-bitten right now. They'd only been outshot one time in their first 10 games, so it's not as if they weren't getting the chances. And they were winless in their first 5 home games of the season. So it was one of those situations where you're looking across and you're thinking, okay, at some point, the law of averages says that the Grand Rapids Griffins are going to get this thing on track, because they still have a lot of players left over from that championship run they had a couple of years ago. They're definitely not, they're not a team that's going to be near the bottom of the standings all year long, and you knew at some point they were going to get some bounces, and that's exactly what happened last night. Is the Grand Rapids Griffins got some bounces, especially on goals number 3 and 4, the ones that ultimately marked the end of the night for Calvin Pickard. But Grand Rapids shot off to a 2-0 lead in the first, a couple of nice goals that they scored in the first period, and then in the second, the first one was the Monsters committed a turnover behind the net. The puck was sent right out in front, where it went off the back of Calvin Pickard's leg and went in the net. And then the fourth one was, and this one was so fluky that it's getting some run on outlets like the Bleacher Report and things like that. But it was Ryan Sproul, the Grand Rapids Griffins, who's got a very hard slap shot, but he came in, took a shot, missed well high of the net. Puck goes off of the end glass, bounces back out to the front of the net, hits Calvin Pickard in the back, and goes in. One you can't really draw off. It made you think of those commercials with Larry Bird and from the early 90s, where it was like off the building, off the dump truck, off the backboard, and in, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it was just one of those situations where you look at it and you're like, okay, you're on the road, you're clearly not getting the bounces, and at that point it didn't look like their night. But credit to the Monsters, they came back in the third period and scored 3 unanswered before Grand Rapids ultimately got maybe the biggest empty net goal you could ever imagine. It was because the Monsters had a late power play. The Monsters had all the momentum in the final minute, and Grand Rapids was able to come up with the empty net goal to stop the bleeding and bring out a sigh of relief from everybody in attendance last night there at Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids. But it was good to see the Monsters come back like that. It was tough to see them go down 4-0, obviously, and it was, like I said, a couple of bad bounces that made up for a good chunk of that deficit that the Monsters were trying to battle back from all evening long. The Monsters did outshoot Grand Rapids last night, so that was high marks for that. Grand Rapids had only been outshot once in 10 games going into last night's game, and that was the first time the Monsters had outshot an opponent this season. So the Monsters were able to get some chances, but at the same time, they weren't getting the puck luck, if you will, last night. That worked against them, and the 4-goal deficit proved to be a little too much to recover from.
Tell you what, Doug, you and I talked about the familiarity with these teams here. They've got 3 more with each other before the beginning of December, 6 more throughout the season. And look at the way they've split those first groups of meetings. You've seen a little bit of everything. You've seen both teams jump out to big leads. You've seen close games. You've seen comebacks. You've seen a little bit of everything. It just lets you know the competitiveness between these two squads and what you've still got left to come with them. Like I said, 6 more between them. And I think, isn't it 3? I believe it's 3 before the beginning of December. And pull up the schedule. But yeah,
the two teams will play a grand total of 8 games against each other before Christmas, and then they'll play each other twice more over the rest of the schedule after that. So 10 total meetings. Plus, don't forget those 2 preseason games for what those were worth, even though it wasn't the complete squads going head-to-head in those 2 games. But no secrets out there between those 2 teams, and I think that's the big thing. One of the factors that makes these such good matchups every time is that these 2 teams, they know each other's tendencies, they know each other, they get sick of each other, and that's why you get a little bit of everything.
Yep, absolutely. Doug Plagens, voice of the Monsters, joining us here. And, of course, we're talking about last night's loss, but let's go back, too, because since you and I talked, you also had the previous game. The Monsters dropped their Utica at home, which they return here for this upcoming weekend. Talk to me a bit about last Friday, 4-1 loss there to Utica.
Well, we had a great crowd in the building, first of all, and anybody who's tuned in who was out at the game on Friday night or who gets out to Monsters games regularly, thanks very much for the ongoing support. But the Utica Comets came in Friday night, and they took a 4-1 game from the Monsters. Utica, top record in the American Hockey League to this point, and they've been doing it a variety of ways, and really the main way is just not giving up much. I mean, they don't allow many shots. The shots they do allow generally get stopped because they have 2 very good goalies, whether it's Jacob Markstrom or Joachim Eriksson. Either one is very sharp and has been very sharp to start the season. So they've always got that consistent goaltending back behind them, and they've got good defense that doesn't allow much. They've got some opportunistic forwards who can score in a variety of ways. So they're a team that right now looks like they're going to be there, from now through the end, depending on what happens, of course, with the Vancouver Canucks, their affiliate up there in the National Hockey League. I mean, you've seen how quickly things can turn, whether it's from trades or injuries. And I know we're still early; we're only about a seventh of the way through this whole thing. But the Utica Comets right now, they're a strong team, and that's going to be that's a team the Monsters are only going to play 2 times this season compared to 8 meetings last year. There was that realignment that put the Monsters in the Midwest Division over the summer, and as a result of that, they won't see as much of the Utica Comets. The Rockford Ice Hogs, the other team the Monsters saw last week, they're another team that's right up there in the top 2 in the league right now here in the early part of the season, and it's just showing right now where some of the strength is in the AHL through these first 10, 12, 14 games that teams have played this season. Again, as I said, about 1/7 of the way through the whole marathon. But right now, you've got Utica, who's a Western Conference team. They're in the North Division. They're sitting up there at the top. You've got Rockford, who's up near the top of the league. And I'm talking overall league rankings, not necessarily just breaking it down by conference. But you've got Rockford, who's a Midwest Division team, a team the Monsters are going to see 8 times this season in all. They're up near the top. Chicago is another team the Monsters are going to see 8 times this season, and they knocked off Utica last night, and they're currently sitting with the 3rd best record in the AHL. So right now, some of the cream that's rising to the top is heavy in the Western Conference. So right now things are really shaping up in terms of this first half of the season. It looks like the Western Conference is going to be a tough grind.
You know, talking about that Utica loss, too, I mean, 0-7 on the power play there. A couple of things, though, that I wanted to talk to you about outside of the game, although it affected the game. I thought it was, I said, last week we were just talking about the changes to the boards and the glass there, and then you had the delay in the game. What exactly, for people that didn't hear the story, what happened with the glass? You know, the new way that they put the seamless glass together caused a delay in the game and literally, a 25-plus minute intermission?
Yeah, you know, there was a broken pane of glass down in the corner. And you know, obviously, the whole time I'm on the air the whole time, so I didn't really have the ability to get the up-to-the-minute inside information from down at ice level, and nor am I very mechanical. Anybody who knows me would know I'm not really good at building things. So, you know, I couldn't really explain the technical aspect of why what the delay was. There was a little bit of a complication in getting that glass replaced. They ended up kind of getting a makeshift piece of glass in there to fill the void. But basically what happened was, with 6:01 to go in the first, there was the glass issue, and it was determined that it was going to take a little bit longer than expected to fix it. So they decided to take the first intermission there, and that's protocol. You know, talking to Monsters head coach Dean Chenault, well after the fact, he said that he had seen that happen when he was coaching in the Western Hockey League in junior, and it happens from time to time. And in a situation like that, that's generally the course of action. They take the intermission, then they came back, played the final 6:01 of the first period, took a brief pause, basically enough time for me to take a commercial break on radio, and then we came right back, started the second period. We were back on track, but it was just an odd occurrence. But I'll tell you what, and I said this on the air, and anybody who's come down to a Monsters game can probably attest to this. We had about a 25-minute, half an hour impromptu, unexpected delay, and people were still enjoying themselves, and that's just a testament to the game presentation team and the game operations staff and everything that we've got going on here at the Q. Because I was looking around the arena while I was, you know, trying to fill time with an intermission that I didn't expect to have coming for another 6 minutes, and you know, people were having a good time. People had smiles on their faces. You would have never known that the game was brought to an unexpected halt.
I'll tell you, man, I'm laughing, too, thinking of the situation as a broadcaster, because I've been there before where something breaks or something goes wrong, and they just say, go, and you just have to go. And, you know, matter of fact, a couple weeks ago, I was doing play-by-play, and there was lightning in the area, and they said, well, if lightning hits during the game, we'll have to take a 30-minute break. You'll just have to talk through it, and then we'll come back. And I'm like, well, that's great, man, because I barely know the names of these guys. This is high school football. There's going to be a really fun long intermission. Luckily, the Lightning.
No, I mean, there was a game in Rockford a couple of years ago when the Zamboni broke down on the ice, and it was, you know, I'm doing something on the computer because I'm multitasking during the game. And we're in the last commercial break of the intermission. And I come back on. Hey, we're back. I turn my head and I look, and the Zamboni's out there and it's not moving. And had to fill some time. And they got that thing off the ice. So I mean, stuff happens. It's live radio. It's live professional sports, and you know, everything is pretty methodical, and everything's, you know, all the procedures are down to a T. But sometimes the unexpected can happen, and you have to be ready to take care of that when it does.
Bro, you know that, man. Definitely, my man. All right, speaking of taking care of things, Monsters, now looking ahead, home cooking here, an opportunity to get 3 in a row at the Q. And they've got a bit of a break here after you got the weekend. They'll play, what's that, 3 and 5 days there with Friday and Saturday this weekend, but then they don't play again until next weekend. In fact, the next few weeks are like that, with stretches during the week with no midweek games and then weekend opportunities. Matter of fact, they don't play another midweek game through the month of November, looking at the schedule, but you've got...
And business will really pick up in December, though.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm looking at it. I definitely see where the schedule changes there. 2 at home with Adirondack coming up this weekend, which has the Flames changed their affiliation. It used to be Abbotsford, right? And now it's Adirondack, and then you've got the Grand Rapids Griffins again a week from tomorrow.
Yep, the Adirondack Flames come in. First time the Monsters and the Flames will ever meet, but anybody who comes down to these games might recognize a couple of names because, as you said, it's the Calgary Flames affiliate. They were in Abbotsford last year, so a lot of the same players on this Adirondack team coming in, and they're a team that really stumbled out of the gate, but they've started to put things together over the last couple of weeks. So, it's going to be a